Okay, great video. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, Salamat Malam, Wan Cheng Hao. Welcome to this webinar, jointly organized by the Center of Commercial Law Studies from Queen Mary University of London, and in particular by the Alumni Association from China and Indonesia. Today is International Women's Day, and we are talking about women, AI, internet media, and the impact of women and their role in these industries. I'm Salome Santos, and I will be your host for today's event. This webinar is pretty packed. We will consist of two sessions. The first session will be moderated by Ms. Evgenia Nilsson. We will have the opening speech of Ms. Andy Yandriani, and then Ms. Joyce Zhang and Ms. Ioana Stupariu will do their separate presentations. There will be a Q&A session held after the two speakers are finished, but please feel free to raise your questions in the chat function at the bottom, and we will address as many as we can at the end of those speakers. The second session will be moderated by Tia Gao and Dr. Tia Gao, apologies, and we will have three speakers presented, followed as well by a Q&A session. Before I hand it over to Evgenia to moderate, on behalf of the Organizing Steering Committee, I would just like to express my sincere gratitude to all the people who have contributed to the hopefully successful event, in particularly the guest speakers, Andy Antriani from Comnas Parentum, Joyce Zhang from Intel, Ioana Stupariu from Genomat Health, Marcella Panji from TikTok Indonesia, Stephanie Kartikamura Brenadiva from Indonesian National Police, and Firdaus from the University of Barcelona. And thank you very much for sharing your knowledge, view, and experience to us all during this event. We'd also like to thank Evgenia from Alpha Bank and Dr. Tia Gao from Rule Limited as the moderators for this event, Miss Catherine Taylor-Bennett and Rachel Owusu-Dome from the CCLS Alumni and Development Team in London for all the technical assistance and promotion of the event. Finally, we would like to thank all of our CCLS Committee Indonesia chapter, Firdaus, the initiator and lead of this event, Evgenia Nilsson for setting everything up, Jennifer Karina and Maitsita Lokitasari for promotion assistance, as well as the rest of the members of the CCLS committee of the Indonesia chapters and in the CCLS Indonesia community. Finally, we would like to thank the colleagues from the CCLS China chapter, in particular Ms. Zero Li, for approving the collaboration idea and speakers for this event and presence during this event. Last but not least, all the participants, thank you very much for allocating time, and let's make it a successful event. Without any further ado, I would like to introduce our first moderator for the first session, Ms. Evgenia Nilsson. Evgenia is a graduate from the CCLS with an LLM in Banking and Finance, graduating in 2013. She is now the head of the Counterparties Monitoring Department at Alpha Bank. For more than 10 years, Evgenia has been responsible for mitigating compliance, anti-money laundering, and sanctions risks for several business lines, including corporate, investment, and financial institutions. Evgenia holds an international AML CTF diploma from the International Compliance Association, and currently she's working on her crypto asset anti-financial crime certification with ACAMS. Evgenia regularly shares her professional views and ideas while participating in international compliance events. Evgenia, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Salome, for your kind introduction. Thank you. So, women have been a crucial part of human civilization, yet the issue about the perception of women and how a woman is treated in society remains until now. The internet, media, and the emergence of artificial intelligence and human lives have played important roles in shaping the perception of women in society and how women are treated. The question is, has the internet, media, and AI impacted the better perception and treatment towards women in society? Do women have a significant role in shaping this perception, and how women are being treated in society via the internet, media, and AI? It says great technology comes with great morality. At least it should be like that. With that in mind, the Center for Commercial Law Studies alumni chapters in China and Indonesia decided to organize the webinar on the topic Women, AI, Internet, Media, the impact on women and their role in these industries, as part of our contribution to the society, in particular to educate and raise awareness of people, as well as give their recommendation to law and policy makers on what should be improved in solving the issue. Without further ado, we will begin with the first session with opening speech from Mrs. Andy Yantriani. Andy Yantriani was a commissioner at the National Commission on Violence Against Women, Komnas Perempuan, from 2010 to 2014. She has been involved in Komnas Perempuan since 2000, preventing and eliminating violence against women. Andy Yantriani was appointed as chair of the National Commission on Violence Against Women for the 2020-2024 period. Another one of her interests is documenting stories about international women, their problems, and their struggles to survive. She is also currently chairing Soar Asa Katolistiva, SAKA, and it continues to strive to eliminate violence against women, which is still a major issue in modern society. Cases of violence are still occurring at a greater rate than their resolutions. She states that she has promised herself to be fully dedicated to victims of violence towards women. This dedication is marked by her involvement in Komnas Perempuan since 2000 in preventing and eliminating violence against women. Two things underlie Andy's interest in the world of women. First, the May 1998 tragedy, in which sexual violence was one of the main problems. And second, she lost some friends because they had to get married at a young age at a time when other junior high school students were still thinking about their dreams. Dear Andy, I would like to hand over to you.
Thank you, Eugene. Particularly, thank you for the very generous introduction. I didn't realize that's going to be read in a full length. So first of all, happy International Women's Day, dear friends, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank the committee, particularly the CCLS China and Indonesia, for the invitation to take part in this discussion with distinguished speakers who has in-depth knowledge of the issue at conceptual, policies, and empirical situation of women in relation to internet, artificial intelligence, and media. So hence, it's a great honor for me to speak before you all today. This discussion is timely because, as being mentioned, first, the internet technology and digitalization are unstoppable and will continue to grow exponentially. According to the World Bank data, for instance, there were more than 1.5 billion new users of internet in the 4 years of 2018 to 2022, and in total, it has it actually accessed by 2/3 of the global population. And since 1991, the internet technology has been increasing by the rate of 20% per year. And considering the rapid speed of the transmission that resonates with the swift growth of AI, social interaction will change dramatically along with the significant transformation of our methods of work. In the same time, the growth of internet technology and digitalization is a double sword. On one hand, it provides a greater sources of information, expedite exchanges of knowledge, create wider space for expression, open a new market, and develop a more efficient methods of work. But on the other hand, it poses a risk of heightened violence and crimes, including organized transnational crime and growing intolerance, incitement, and misinformation that may increase the complexity of governance and deepen impoverishment and gaps of those who have and not have, direct and indirectly. Sorry. Secondly, there won't be a better time than today, the day of the commemoration of the International Women's Day, to inquire the role of women and impacts on women in this context. Particularly because this year, the International Women's Day is calling for inclusion of women from all backgrounds in all sectors of life. As we all are aware of, women's representation in technology sector is much lesser than men. Study shows that the ratio of women in technology roles is declining, with half of women dropping out by the age of 35, and lesser number of women in high management position due to the promotion gap in technology, holding less than 25% of technology leadership roles. Report in 2022 found that only 86 women are promoted to manager for every 10 men across every industry, but when isolated for technology, that number drops to 52 women for every 100 men. Understanding the gender factor for this condition, efforts to close gaps have been taken up by various companies, but the progress has been slow. Hence, we are striving to formulate possible breakthroughs to improve the situation, and in the same time, responding to the negative impacts of the internet, which could actually aggravate the subordination and vulnerabilities of women to violence and discrimination. Dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, yesterday, as a tradition to commemorate the International Women's Day, we, the National Commission on Violence Against Women or Komnas Perempuan, launched our annual report or Catahu, a compilation of a nationwide data on reported cases of gender-based violence against women. There are more than 123 institutions contributed to this report, namely service providers run by the government or the women's groups, law enforcement institutions, and also cases directly reported to Komnas Perempuan. To date, violence at personal domain is still the majority of the cases reported, excluding the data from the religious court related to violence as a cause to divorce. As for Komnas Perempuan, cases directly reported to us were slightly lesser than 2022, comprises of 3,300 cases. We expect this as a signal that the public has a better understanding of the role of Komnas Perempuan that is not the first responder on the cases of violence against women. Allow me to elaborate quickly about Komnas Perempuan. This commission was set up in the aftermath of May 1998 tragedy, during which sexual assaults, including gang rape, occurred targeting against ethnic Chinese women. Komnas Perempuan was set up with a presidential decree as the basis and with independent authority. Pursuing the role as national human rights institution, Komnas Perempuan has the authority to do fact findings, mission, monitoring and documentation, strategic researches, and all the results are used to develop policy recommendations, to generate public awareness, and also to grow cooperation with various actors to actually create an environment to eliminate all forms of gender-based violence against women and to promote women's human rights. Now, dear friends, let me draw your attention back to the annual report Komnas Perempuan launched yesterday. Amongst the 289,000 reported cases, there were 1,272 online gender-based violence, which comprises of 1,573 or almost 65% of, which comprises of 1,573 acts of violence. The majority, or almost 65, were online threats, followed with malicious distribution, then cyber sexual harassment and sexploitation. This data is corresponding to the situation in various countries, as said by the Institute of Development Studies that found between 16 to 58% of women have experienced technology-facilitated gender-based violence. Also with the UN Women's Publication 2022, which most common acts of violence reported were misinformation and defamation, cyber harassment, hate speech, impersonation, hacking and stalking, and so forth. It is noteworthy that the experience of online gender-based violence have a very distinct feature in the relation between online and offline violence. According to our data, almost 1/3 of the acts were committed by someone with personal relationship with the victims. The connectivity of offline and online gender violence is most apparent in the cases of retaliation using technology-facilitated means if the women do not want to reunite with their ex-spouses. Monitoring since 2017 also showed that cases of gender-based cyber violence have transformed both in terms of motives and actions. In fact, referring to the UN ODC document 2023, violence is carried out in a more systematic rather than sporadic, with growing rigid mechanism within the perpetrator community. It was further explained that the case of human trafficking, a system has also been built that utilized technology. There is also a metamorphosis of cybersexual violence to metaverse space, and thus pose a new question on the kind of treatment and even with jurisdictional lines that should be authorized. Global Cybersecurity Outlook 2024 also predicts that in the next 2 years, the use of AI by perpetrators will around 56%, and 46% of them will be in the form of deepfake that requires specific measures to respond it adequately. As observed in the meeting of the Commission on the Status of Women last year, the capacity to handle the cases are still very limited. At the policy framework level, law enforcement infrastructure to provide needed services for the victims and prevention measures. The situation is aggravated when the corruption and lack of gender perspective hinder the gender justice policy making and law enforcement, besides the considerable time and resources needed to build policy frameworks and infrastructure could not match the exponential growth of digitalization. In Indonesia, the policy framework such as the revised law on electronic information and transaction, sexual crime law, revised penal code on protection and personal data provides partial protection. The risk of criminalizing women's victims of non-consensual is still persisting. The rights to be forgotten recognized by the sexual crime law is still difficult to be implemented, not only due to the coordination between law enforcers and platform providers, but also the nature of digital consumption that may go beyond the platform providers' control. Whilst many service providers are not equipped to respond online gender-based violence timely, the impacts are also not thoroughly understood, particularly the physiological impact, which may be experienced differently according to the victim's age and their intensity of digital engagement. Dear friends, in responding to this situation, I believe we will have rigorous discussion tonight from all the distinguished panelists on the recommendations of solution. Allow me to endorse a recommendation for more extensive affirmative action for women's substantive participation in technology, gender justice, and digital literacy, which are all pivotal. Efforts have been made to increase the number of women in science, technology, and STEM. As shown by the study of UNESCO, women have 25% lesser opportunity to build knowledge on technology in comparison to men. More affirmative measures need to be installed since current efforts has achieved only slow progress. In Indonesian case, for instance, the effort can only close 2.6% gender gap in this sector. Likewise, is in the effort to close the gender gap in education in general. Transformation in education is the key to the future we are anticipating. An education system that allows the students to grow creativity, critical thinking, and respect to human rights besides digital technical skill. In the same time, due diligence processes are necessary for policy reforms and infrastructure development so that it can be more effective in the prevention and handling of the cases related to digital offenses and comprehensive recovery of the victims. Multi-actors and multilateral cooperation and synergy are imperative for optimally achieving our goal, which is to create a safe and benefiting for all digital space with substantive participation of all without discrimination on any basis. So allow me to end my remark here by also thank my colleague Isdi who helped me with developing this remark, and I wish you a fruitful discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Andy, very much for everything that you've done and that you are doing and that you said. Thank you. Wish you a good day. And now I would like to introduce our speakers for this first session. It would be two women. First, Joyce Jeng holds an LLM degree in international business law from Queen Mary since 2013. She is now working as a senior counsel at Intel Corporation to support its sales and marketing business and lead data and privacy compliance work in China. Before Intel, she worked for LinkedIn China and as its senior legal counsel for 5 years, and for King & Wood Mallesons as its associate for 4 years. Joyce is an exceptional experienced attorney in the cybersecurity and privacy area. She also holds privacy certificates for the EU and China region. And the other speaker is Mrs. Ioana Stiparu. She is a technology regulation expert with 15 years of experience in project management, operations specialist, and academic background in international business law. She has organized over 100 international events and has been a speaker at several global conferences on topics such as technology regulation and AI. She has been an assistant for professor of the EU and international law for 400 law students cohorts. Her PhD research was at Central European University, Vienna, with the research grants at Columbia Law School, New York, and China University of Political Science and Law, Beijing. Presently, she is a co-founder of Genomate Health, a digital health company using AI to improve outcomes for cancer patients, and a founder of ReadyTech Consulting and Solutions, where she's an advisor of multiple technology-driven global startups with a special focus on healthcare. So I would remind that each speaker has a 15-20 minutes allocation of time to do the presentation. And then after Joyce and Ioana will be finished with the presentation, we will carry out our question and answer session. So please feel free to write your questions in the chat or ask them personally later. Joyce, Ioana, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Evgenia. I'm going to share my screen. Please let me know once you see it.
We see the screen.
Great. So yes, hey everyone. Thank you for having me today. It's been a really great honor on this special day, the International Women's Day, to come here and share with our audience about data privacy protection in China. As Evgenia introduced, I'm currently working for Intel China as their privacy counsel, and also working for LinkedIn, a US social platform, for many years, also as their privacy counsel. So, as a female lawyer in the tech industry, I always have a mixed feeling that on one hand that privacy and data protection has been one of the most critical concerns and the priorities for the big tech companies. But on the other hand, like a normal person in the daily life, especially as a woman, I feel that more and more new privacy concerns are emerging constantly every day because of the rapid development of the technology, as you can name the wearable tech devices and the other things. So with that, we think the topic we will discuss today, the data privacy protection, will be meaningful. So I'm a sign of the 15 minutes of sharing, so I'm going to break the sharings in 4 parts. So first part, I'm going to discuss some basic ideas of concepts about data privacy and personal data to lay out the foundation for some of the discussions. Second, we are going to unfold the legal protections mechanisms in China. What are the laws says about it? Third, we will see what are the daily life challenges about privacy in China, especially for women. And at the last, I have summed up some of the really practical and helpful privacy protection tips for women, and hopefully you will find it helpful in the end. So let's get started. Privacy. Uh, so ne- across the different jurisdictions, we have seen different privacy laws has been discussing data privacy and privacy. So we may think, what is privacy? And I think when talking about privacy, um, we will think about like a human rights or rights to be alone or individual independence. I think those interpretations are all right. I did some research and I surprisingly find that privacy is a quite ancient concept that as old as mankind, that you can even find some privacy definitions, things from Bible or from Roman law. But it really comes to a legal concept in the 1890s. There's two Harvard professor published a paper called "Right to the right to privacy. And at that time, privacy has been officially been defined as the right to be alone. But nowadays, privacy is not only about that keeping a protection of the information happen within your house or in the mails that being exchanged with your friends and families. It's actually more of the information has been processed online. It's been actually been processed in those data centers being deployed across the globe. So people has been thinking whether my data have been saving in those data centers can be processed properly and lawfully. So then it comes to the definition of data privacy. And according to Wikipedia, generally we refer to data privacy as a right to have some control over your personal data that has been collected, used, and processed. So yes, that is the foundation, basic idea of the data privacy, and you will see that the key points about protect your personal data. So people will wonder, what is personal data? I think some of the personal data are obvious to tell, like the names, ages, phone numbers, but some of them people may not realize they are personal data. For instance, like the IP addresses when you visit a website, or the cookie that when you browse a website, and the device ID in your iPhone or iMac. Those are all personal information, or we call it personal data. So you can see the definition is that any information that can be used to identify a person, whether it's self-alone or can be combined with each other so that it can identify such person. And some of the personal data can be really sensitive. I can name a few, like religious information, medical records, sexual orientation. Those things are more sensitive if it is unused improperly or unlawfully. They can cause more damages to people's rights. Um, so um, so with that, I think we have laid out some of the foundations of the some basics idea of privacy and personal data. So we were going to see what are the China laws says about it. So China in 2019, it published the China's Personal Information Protection Law. It is short for PEPL. Well, PEPL, we would say, was greatly inspired by the GDPR, the EU General Data Protection Requirements. The reason why we see that is GDPR was firstly introduced in 2016, and then PEPL saw that we think that we never have a cross national level of privacy law. Perhaps as a big country, we should have that too. So PEPL has been passed really quickly by following a lot of the basic concepts and ideas of GDPR. It also draws a lot of the global attentions because PEPL's actual territory effect. It is because not only the personal data has been processed within China get protected by PEPL, it is also because overseas websites is trying to provide services or goods to China or targeted Chinese citizens living in China. PEPL will also going to apply. So for that reason, PEPL has been caused a lot of the attentions and compliance requirements for companies in China or multinational companies that has a business in China, and also because it adopts a really similar heavy penalties as GDPR. It can charge up to 5% of the breach company's last year's turnover. So that is an overlook of PEPL. And I think as individuals, it's very important to learn what are the rights, privacy rights has been offered under PEPL. Well, at least for rights here, that is the main privacy rights PEPL has been provided. First is the rights to be informed and access. I think it typically refers to the privacy notice on the privacy policy when people has been signed up on online services or app. So people will have the right to review their privacy policies before their personal data to get precise. Second is the right to object. It's not only about fully object the whole services or processing of personal data. It can be also about partially object some of the unnecessary processing of personal data. Third is rise to rectification. Well, when people find some of their personal data is recorded incorrectly, they have the right to require for rectification. I think that's especially important for banking and financial institutions because in China, that industry has been using automatic decision a lot. So if there's a personal information has been recorded wrong, it can be result in a really low score of credit reports. So rights to rectification is also important. At the last, it offers the rights to deletion. It's very interesting because China doesn't honor the rights to be forgotten. Well, we take a guess that the legislators in China perhaps thinks that the rights to be forgotten are too heavy burdens for the tech companies in China, and it's really can't really delete all the things a lot that has been published online. So they take a neutral position and they honor rights to be deletion. It means that when people are not comfortable with that company to continue processing their personal data, they can ask for deleted completely. So I think that's basically about PEPL. And we will look into some of the frequently seen challenges for women in digital life. First is unauthorized use of data and images. I think a very typical example is the deepfake technology. We've seen a lot of the criminal case that has been uh, experienced as victims of a lot of China female celebrities because their facial data images are on the website all over, and it can be really easily to be accessed by anyone. So some of the lawbreakers, they has been collecting those facial data without the authorization of the celebrities, and they feed it to the deepfake technology, and then it comes used to producing sexual or other improper video and make it for profit. So that is we see really bad thing for China that we've seen already happen in China. It also the true case that for some of the females that they like to posting things on their social platform, that their data and images are also misused by the lawbreakers, and sometimes they use deepfake technology and produce a fake video to produce scam cases. So that is the first thing challenges we've frequently seen. Second is scam and financial fraud. Um, I used to work for some social platform companies, and sometimes we can see cases that, you know, that in social platform everyone has their own profile, and some of the women has been published their gender, their not gender, women they've been published their age, their photo, and their preference, their hobbies there, and sometimes the lawbreakers they also build their own profile, but under fake one. Most frequently, we see some lawbreakers pretend themselves like a gentleman working for NGO or pretend to be a um, doctor, and they pitch those women's and conduct a romance scam, and in the end a lot of the female victims has been suffered from financial fraud. So we think those women has been online harassed and improperly treated because of the improper use of personal information. And third is that unauthorized user profiling. We know that sometimes the social platforms or companies that has the profiling function that they want to know more about you, your age, your shopping habits, your purchasing ability, all those things through your interaction with the website. But sometimes those data can be misused. For instance, we can see cases because of the different gender and different interaction with the website, we can see pricing discrimination. For instance, sometimes I see one, my husband and I, we calling for a Didi, it's like a Uber equivalent in China. We will see different price being offered to us with the same distance. So those things are the frequently see challenges for women in digital life with these technologies being developed super fast. Um, And last, we can see some of the really helpful tips for women to protect privacy. I would say that those tips I have been using myself now, so I really recommend that you can try those. So first is that knowing your rights. I think it's not only about the laws and regulations tells what privacy rights you have. It's also about if you have time, try to read the privacy policy or the privacy notice when you sign up for an app or online services. I know those privacy policy can be really long and time consuming to read, especially for non-legal background person. But if you have time, I really recommend you to do it so that you can have a basic mindset like what personal information has been collected by this platform. And sometimes you will see something may sound not right, and so you will consider now to use that app or to disable some of its functions by visiting its privacy settings. Well, second is always ask why, how, and who. I think only ourselves, we shouldn't really rely on those big companies or the laws to protect our rights. It's really need ourselves to constantly asking ourselves why, how, and who are collecting my data, and to avoid unnecessary collection. For instance, that I I have been always using an online shop app, but one day I found that it's still tracking my geo locations, and I think it's completely unnecessary, and it's irrelevant to the service it has been offered to me. So I visit its privacy setting and switch it off. So that's really important for us to understand what personal data has been precise is really necessary. And third is that I think I mentioned that with the privacy setting and trying to think if those access to your cameras, your microphones, your personal profile links you are comfortable with and you really need it. um, I will provide a real case that's really interesting that, I have kids and they are really adapted to apps like TikTok, those things. They have the algorithm that can keep children really addicted to them. And, as parents, I really want to shut down and I don't want them to continue those addiction. But I don't think that completely remove the app is a good idea because, the kids can reload it. And once they get their accounts back, they can get anything back. So I think perhaps this can be helped and it really works is that I visit the privacy setting of that app and I switch the personal profiling button off. So with that, it means that the platform will no longer trying to understand what kind of person you are and what's your habit. So with that, my kids surprisingly find that the app becomes a little bit dumb, and that they started to pushing them some of the irrelevant videos that they have no interest in. And with time passed by, I think those things have no strong attachment to them. So this is the one example that I can share with you. I think it's really um, uh, interesting things to try. And fourth is being aware of your device security. Security and privacy, they are always connected to each other and they always compromise at the same time. So trying to use strong passwords, VPNs, antivirus software to the extent of possible to protect your personal data. And then being careful what you share on social media. I think I'll mention some of the romantic scam cases. That's because of too much information of women has been shared on the platform. So some of the lawbreakers to take use of it. So our digital footprints on the website can be forever. So I really recommend double think before we share. And in the end, is be aware of scams, not only the romance scam, but also be careful. Like one is saying there's a lucky draw or there's a rewards by click some of the hyperlinks. So be careful. Don't give out your personal data until you're sure it's legitimate. So yes, I think that's pretty all about my sharing today. Thank you. And I will give back to Evgenia.
Thank you very much, Joyce. Yes, we have questions already to you, but we'll have them in the question and answer session. So you will be able to familiarize with them. And now I would like to invite Ioana Stupario. Floor is yours, Ioana.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I think we can start. First of all, I would like to say thank you for inviting me to speak today. It's a really special day. It's the International Day of Women, and I'm very excited and humbled to be invited along such great lineup of young professionals and academics. And I would like to say that I want to thank Joyce for the great presentation on data privacy and data security. I very much confirm, having worked for almost a decade with companies on implementing data privacy standards, that yes, all of those risks exist. And fortunately, because of regulation, we managed to counteract and to mitigate many of those harms. And I'm very glad to see progress compared to 10 years ago, not only for females, but for everyone in regards to protecting their privacy rights. But I'm very happy that today I was invited to speak on another topic, not on data protection and data security, but on a more challenging technology, which is artificial intelligence. So today I will be speaking primarily about how AI is impacting women's rights. And in the first part of my speech, I'll be speaking about the general regulatory framework for women's rights. And then I'll delve into artificial intelligence and how the emergence of this new technology is impacting women's rights, how they are now and how they could be. Thank you also for the great introduction. As my colleagues have said, I've been working with regulation and technology for almost a decade, primarily supporting startups into implementing regulatory standards into their products. And here, of course, software is of key importance. So basically, I had the luck to witness firsthand some of the effects and processes needed to make sure that rights are properly protected through new technologies like software that in different shapes and forms. But before going into examples and analyzing different case studies, I would like to first give an overview of the legal and regulatory framework around women's rights. And as a particularly vulnerable group, women have always had a special status and recently protection within the UN and regional human rights systems. The core principle here in the UN system is absolute equality and non-discrimination, ensuring women and men enjoy equal rights across society. And here it's important to spotlight three critical instruments in the global fight for women's rights. We have the Convention on the Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women, the 1971 Convention. We have the Declaration on the Elimination of Violence Against Women, the 1993 Declaration, and of course, more recently, the Istanbul Convention. All these frameworks cover essential rights, basic essential rights specific to women, from protection against violence, access to health and reproductive rights, to equal opportunities in education and employment. And they also emphasize women's participation rights in politics, equality in marriage, and economic empowerment. And the adoption of all these conventions has led to significant global changes, fostering laws that promote gender equality and protect women from violence. Countries committed to implementing those conventions through local laws and to holding accountable and punishing those that infringe upon women's rights. So this is basically the groundwork that the society as a whole has done towards protecting women's rights. And in the next part of my presentation, and I hope the next slide will show you, I would like to go and talk about AI, because in the past few decades, we have seen a fantastic development of technology, out of which one particular technology has been stronger in challenging the status quo. And while AI could bring fantastic benefits for women, it can also strongly undermine all the progress that we have made throughout history, including the one that we have seen in the previous slide. I will not spend time on trying to define AI, as there is a lot of literature and massive debates in different industries on that in itself. But I will underline the recent legal definitions granted to AI, which may influence protection of women's rights. And here, I would like to refer to the newly put forward AI Act in the European Union, the next major piece of legislation that the EU aims to put forward, offering a regulatory framework that will certainly impact how AI is regulated globally. And as we see, the AI Act's definition is aligned with the OECD guidelines, defining AI systems as machine-based systems that infer from inputs to generate impactful outputs. Some potential upsides. There's potential to advance gender equality if done right. AI has the potential to advance gender equality by automating routine tasks, opening thus new educational and career opportunities for women and addressing existing biases through more objective data analysis. However, there's also some potential risks, such as the risk of perpetuating stereotypes. And here, experts urge caution against the potential of AI to perpetuate gender stereotypes, especially if AI systems are trained on biased data sets or fail to consider gender nuances in their algorithm. More on that a bit later. There is also a valid concern that AI could increase unemployment in sectors that are traditionally dominated by female workers, underscoring the need for strategies to mitigate this risk, such as reskilling and policy interventions. But more on that on the next slide, in which I will talk about the impact on women's rights at work. And as I already mentioned, women present a high vulnerability to AI disruption, given that a significant proportion of working women, 79% more specifically, are in occupations vulnerable to AI disruption. There is a critical need for gender-sensitive approaches in AI development and policy. Generative AI specifically poses a higher risk to women in the workforce, with 58 million women in high-risk occupations compared to only 48 million men. And 21% more women than men are exposed to AI automation, primarily due to a higher presence of women in white-collar roles susceptible to automation. Also, some sectors are more susceptible to this. Healthcare, education, administrative support, they are predominantly staffed by women, and thus they are at high risk of AI-driven automation. Therefore, we believe that generative AI tools such as ChatGPT and others could automate tasks in these fields, thus impacting job security for women. However, we know that AI is here to stay, so we need to harness AI's potential benefits while mitigating the risks. We need to have targeted educational programs and initiatives to equip women with AI skills and ensuring women's active participation in shaping AI's future. We need proper legal frameworks and policy measures to ensure AI's development and that deployment of AI tools does not exacerbate gender disparities, but rather contribute to a more equitable digital future. At the end of the day, it is not that individuals will be replaced by AI, but they would be replaced by those that are adept at using AI in their roles, or at least this is our deep belief. In terms of the risks that AI tools pose to women, we believe that the risks are much higher for women. AI-related crimes and biases worsen existing inequalities, introducing new forms of harassment and discrimination against women, highlighting the need for gender-sensitive AI development and deployment. And one of the major issues that AI has is the problem of anonymity and automation capability that facilitate large-scale attacks on women. Another issue deepfakes, as my colleagues also mentioned. Deepfakes are a modern tool for gender-based violence. 96% of deepfakes are non-consensual sexual videos, with 99% targeting women, which spotlights further this gender-based violence. Using AI in domestic violence, including stalkerware and spyware, is another problem, which allows abusers unprecedented access to their victims' lives, further emphasizing the invasion of their privacy and autonomy. And once again, we do need more legal and policy intervention. And yes, we do have new pieces of regulation all across the world, such as data privacy laws in China, in India, in other countries, and other types of regulations, such as the Digital Services Act, the AI Act in EU. But we think more is needed from lawmakers in order to spotlight this specific issue that are pertaining to women in particular. In terms of the digital gender divide and the role of AI % access, which shows a global digital divide that disproportionately affects women's ability to engage with technology and AI, which further causes a limited access of women to education, to digital skills, to job opportunities in STEM and AI. And we need targeted intervention to help close all of these gaps that we see nowadays. We also need a greater diversity in order to develop AI systems that have biases. We see a low representation of women in research with only 12%, and leadership positions in STEM, which was also mentioned before, with only 9%. And we also see in academia that only 16% of tenure-track faculty in AI are women. So yes, numbers show us that we need to do more because the current data does not help us in how we stand towards ensuring gender equality. At the next stage, I would like to go further and tell you a bit about bias, because I think explaining what bias is very important, because bias is one of the key issues when it comes to artificial intelligence and how it can affect women. AI bias results in systematic prejudice, leading to unequal treatment for women and reinforcing gender stereotypes, underscoring the importance of identifying and mitigating these biases in AI development. For instance, the feminization of AI through female-named and voice digital assistants exemplifies how AI can perpetuate further societal gender roles and expectations. We need to have algorithmic transparency in order to uncover and address biases in existing or future AI systems. Transparent algorithms are crucial to improve women's digital literacy and to ensure AI developments are gender aware, to identify and correct biases, and thus to combat further the perpetuation of gender inequalities through AI. And another problem that we have, as mentioned, but now a bit exemplified, we have an underrepresentation of women in tech. New York Times recently published in December 2023 an article called "The Top 12 AI Figures in the World." And I will just show you a couple of pictures. Of course, you recognize Elon Musk, Elaine Rich, Sam Altman, and Cynthia Brezel. Looking at the slide, most people would only recognize the male pictures of these figures and not the female ones, because even that article, the New York Times piece, only featured the male figures in this article. As a matter of fact, none of the 12 most influential people in AI represented by New York Times article in 2023 December, so very recently, were female. And I think it's also important to try to combat, to fight against this trend of over-glorification of men and their impact in AI, whereas we also have very influential and very strong female figures in AI. Like, for instance, Elaine Rich is a retired computer scientist formerly at the University of Texas in Austin, who published one of the first textbooks on AI in 1993, and later went on to become the director of a corporate AI lab in 1988. So one of the pioneers of AI development. Cynthia Brezel, on the other hand, is a roboticist and professor at MIT and the co-founder of Jibo, the robotics startup, who worked to develop one of the earliest version of social robots, Kismet, in the late 90s and early 2000s. She was a pioneer of social robotics, and she's not the only one. There's so many women out there that we need to do more to promote. And last but not least, I just want to spend a minute on to showing a very concrete case of gender discrimination revealed by a study organized by Carnegie Mellon University, which revealed gender discrimination in online ad targeting of Google. This ad fisher tool, which was developed by CMU, simulates user profiles to study biases in Google's ad settings, suggesting causations in ad targeting behaviors. What this study shows is that Google showed high-paying ads 1,852 times to the male group, but only 318 times to the female group without any justification. The problem is that there was no correlation, no direct justification using logics showing why they targeted much significantly less women than men. The reality is that tools like this currently have no access to the actual algorithm in order to explain why this occurred, because they're all black boxes. So one of the reasons why we need more studies and why we are calling as an industry, as a society for algorithmic transparency is exactly to be able to identify such biases and correct such biases so that these type of decisions that machines make do not further perpetuate discriminations, not only towards women, but towards other groups in our society. To conclude, we believe that we need to ensure a digital future that is equitable and accessible to everyone, and that AI systems biases require frameworks in order to ensure fair development, to address gender disparities. We need legal and policy reforms that are adapted to the challenges that AI pose. I know it's very difficult to keep track of all the developments because usually the development of the technology is the one that drives regulation. However, societies need to react faster and to try to find solutions that prevent some of the problems that can undo all the great work that we have done in the last few decades on bridging the gap between female and male rights and creating further gender equality. This is not just for AI, it's for any type of technology and it's for any type of innovation that we develop in our society. They need to serve the society and not the other way around. So for all these reasons, all of us in society, private sector, academia, individual actors, civil society, governments, we all need to play our part and do our best to become aware of problems and to try to anticipate the problems that new tools, new ideas can cause and try to find solutions to mitigate them. Thank you so much for listening to me, and I look forward to seeing your questions.
Dear Ioana, thank you very much. It was a really interesting presentation and discussion, and it's a lot of questions I could see to both of our speakers. I would say that the way how I see it, I will ask first the questions that is written to Joyce, and I would kindly ask Joyce to answer them, and then we will come back to Ioana with the questions and summing up. So, Joyce, the first question, yeah, I'm reading it. Do you think that current legislation in China is sufficient to manage the risks you have been talking about? And if there is a room to improvement, and if there is, what extra activities or extra legislation could be added to minimize the risk?
Thank you, Eugenia, for the great question. Well, on the first one, whether the current legislation has been managed risk I have been talking about, um, I would say yes and no. The yes part is that about PEPL, people are saying that perhaps PEPL is most strict and heavy privacy laws across globe, even heavier than GDPR to compliance about. So on that part, I think PEPL is quite comprehensive to protect privacy on every part, generally on every aspects. But for the problems that's been mentioned that specifically for women, I didn't see some of the paying special attention to women rights protection in PEPL law, especially that we see the deepfake technology, the romance scam, that most of the victims, they are women. Um, I think that's totally deserves some of paying special attention for protection on women. And also, even though it does not specifically draw attention for women, that as a common individual, that for those unauthorized use of personal data, it can get some protection under PEPL. But we few see some of the law enforcement's case on those things. And I would suggest that China's criminal law can have some connection together with the PEPL so that we can ensure that some of the serious law enforcement actions can be taken to prevent those things happen less in the future. So I think that is my suggestion.
I understand. Thank you very much. Another question. What is the biggest concern from the implementation of China's privacy law? When do you think China's first privacy law needs to be amended in the future? It's
Yeah, about the biggest concern, I think in China, basically all the privacy professionals and even in the other countries, I think the biggest concern people are discussing is about national security. I think PEPL has carrying a special character that different from GDPR or US privacy law is that it combined national security concern with privacy protection. You know that in EU, the GDPR is purely about protecting personal individuals' rights on different aspects. But in China, it has some strict cross-border data transfer restrictions, like companies in China cannot transfer a certain threshold, a huge amount, certain thresholds of personal data outside of China without pre-approval from the central governments. That in the past has been create some of the challenges for multinational companies running in China or for some of the international trade. So, and that all is because of the geopolitical tension between China and the US and because of the national security concern. So, to sum up, is that we think our recommendation is that to separate privacy protection, that's typical law issues from national security. So that's our recommendation that try to make it separate so our privacy professionals' life could be easier because if it comes to national security, it's more political thing and it's difficult to evaluate or anticipate what's the central government will approve or not. So that's currently the heated discussion in China on that.
I understand. And what about the second part of the question? So what do you think, when will be the next amendment of your legislation? Do you see the perspective, the roadmap?
Well, in near coming future, we don't see there's amendment suggestions made by the legislators, but actually there's already a lot of the um, the, the rules and regulation has to be amended. So the way the legislator been taking is they are using regulations published by a state council and trying to make some changes slightly from the PEPL so that people can um, um, so that people can not really been stuck by the challenges already being imposed by PEPL. But of course, people will asking that your regulations are go against with the PEPL law. That is regulations. It shouldn't prevail the laws. But that is the really interesting part in China that the China legislature prefer to test the water with those regulations. And if the regulations works well, they will propose this in drafts in the next amendment to the law.
I see. Thank you very much. And there is another question.
Evgenia,
yes.
sorry to interrupt. I'm just conscious of time, and we still have the next session. Perhaps may I suggest, because there are so many amazing questions, we might not be able to get to all of those, that maybe you move on to a question for Joanna and we pass on to the next session if you are all in agreement. Apologies, just so many interesting topics and questions.
Yes, thank you so much.
Totally agree.
Okay, then I will go with a question that I really like to Joanna. So do you believe that deepfakes should be more harshly regulated through specific standalone legislation to address their unique challenge and risks, especially those targeting women?
Yeah, I certainly believe we need to do more as a state and as private sector because the misuse of deep fakes can lead to significant psychological harm and damage to reputation and can further contribute to a culture of harassment and sexism that we have. And current laws and regulations do not specifically address it. And however, there are some countries that have already seen this, like for instance, in Romania, in my country, the country where I come from, there is a project for standalone legislation aimed at protecting against deepfakes, which will make it even punishable by prison. Such standalone legislation could provide a clear framework for prosecuting creators of harmful deepfakes content and to further protect victims. It could include provisions for flagging deepfake content, ensuring rapid removal from platforms, and informing users when they are viewing deepfake media and not regular media. It could also deter potential creators through inclusion of sanctions and threat of legal consequences. So yes, I think existence of such targeted legislation would definitely help in further preventing the spread of deepfakes as a phenomenon, which is very, very damaging for women specifically.
Okay, thank you very much, Joanna. So yeah, due to lack of time, I would consider then to sum up. So on the first session, Joyce has been talking about personal data protection in China, its legal framework and residual risks. As a conclusion, she suggested several steps to minimize the negative effects of illegal usage of personal data. And in the second part, Joanna briefly described the history of women's rights development, but still she was talking about existing gender discrimination, even in the area of modern technologies and AI, and further necessity to promote equality and avoid bias. So thank you, dear speakers. That was really interesting to me personally, and I hope to everybody participating. And I think it's the end of first session, and I would give the floor to Salome back.
Thanks, Evgenia, and thank you very much, Joanna and Joyce. That was really, really interesting. Thank you so much. So now let's move on to the second session. Dr. Tia Gao, she will be your moderator. Tia graduated from Queen Mary with an LLM in intellectual property law in 2013 after obtaining an LLB from Sun Yat-sen University. After her studies at Queen Mary, she continued exploring international trade and political economy while completing her MA and PhD degrees in international political economy. Currently, Tia works as a senior compliance consultant at Rule Limited, supporting corporate clients on various ethics and compliance related matters, looking after programs like anti-corruption, due diligence, risk assessment, investigation, whistleblowing, and data privacy. Thank you very much, Tia, and up to you now.
Thank you, Salome. Thank you for having me, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening. Selamat malam. Excuse my really broken Indonesian. Okay, I see a thumb up from Aussie, so that is all good. All right, in the second session of the event, we have 3 speakers. We'll follow a very similar process that each of them will give us their presentation. before we move on to an overall Q&A. Each panelist will have 15 minutes for the presentation, and I'll give you a 1-minute warning when you hear that. Please prepare to wrap up. And audience, please do feel free to throw in your questions anytime in the chat. Yeah, we'll try to cover all your questions during the Q&A. And before I conclude the session and hand back to our host. So first up, it's Marshila Panji. As a public policy and government relations manager of ByteDance TikTok Indonesia, Sheila is responsible for mitigating regulatory risk and demonstrating the economic and social value of TikTok. She was most recently an expert staffer at the Executive Office of the President of Indonesia, monitoring key government programs and policy issues on human development, especially social protection and women and children. Before that, she was working in strategy and government affair consulting and held several internship roles across governments, international organizations, and the private sectors in London and Jakarta. Sheila holds an MPA in Public and Social Policy from London School of Economics and Political Science, and a BS in Political Science, Economics, and International Studies with a minor in German from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. Now over to you, Sheila. Is it just me? Because we can't hear anything.
Sheila, you are unmute, but I still cannot hear you. We still cannot hear your voice.
All right.
Great.
Good.
Good. All right.
Please share your screen.
Sure. Okay, hold on a moment. Okay, I hope I'm sharing correctly. So, hello everyone. My name is Sheila, and I'm part of the Public Policy and Government Relations team here in TikTok Indonesia. First of all, such an honor to be here with you today, alongside many amazing women panelists. Thank you, CCLS China and Indonesia chapter, for having me in this very special occasion. So, happy International Women's Day to all of us, strong, brilliant, and remarkable women out there. So, all right. Today, I want to share a bit about how we work to ensure safety for our users, especially women, and how we continue to support and empower them through our platform. Many of you might have heard of this little app called TikTok. We're the leading destination for short-form mobile video and an exciting, enriching entertainment platform powered by a very diverse community. So people from all walks of life, ages, and backgrounds, including creators, small business owners, consumers, educators, enjoys TikTok as a window to the world to learn and discover, and as a canvas to create their own content and a bridge between individuals and communities. So our mission is to inspire creativity and bring joy. We're honored to be present for our global users. Around the world, hundreds of millions of women are using TikTok every day to entertain, to inspire, educate, and be the voices of change in the communities. From doctors and comedians to music artists and scientists, incredible women power TikTok. Now, we know that for our community to thrive and feel free to express their creativity, safety is fundamental. Indeed, our most important commitment at TikTok is to create a welcoming environment that keeps our community safe. So our team globally work around the clock to help ensure that our platform is a positive and empowering space for self-expression. Our online safety strategy has multiple aspects. So number one, we enforce our community guidelines using both technology and thousands of safety professionals around the world. And secondly, we develop pioneering safety policies and features. And lastly, we partner with external safety partners to keep abreast of complex and constantly evolving challenges, including those facing our women users. Now, when it comes to our approach to safety, our community guidelines come at the heart of it, which defines a common code of conduct for TikTok. They provide guidance on what is and is not allowed to make a welcoming space for everyone. And these guidelines apply to everyone and everything at our platform. They are informed by international legal frameworks, industry best practices and input from our community, safety and public health experts and our regional advisory councils. And we evolve them to address emerging risks and potential harms that may occur from new behaviors online. So we govern a lot of issues within the community guidelines, and I highlight here a few that might unfortunately affect women more. So within the community guidelines, we have an issue group or vertical, if you will, called safety and civility. And this includes anything from violent behaviors and criminal activities, hate speech and hateful behaviors, up to human exploitation. So for example, under hate speech, we make it clear that we do not tolerate sexism and other forms of hate directed at individuals or groups because of their sex, gender, or gender identity. And we remove any such content. And under sexual exploitation, we are committed to providing a space that embraces gender equity. We do not allow sexual exploitation or gender-based violence, including non-consensual sexual acts, physical abuse, and sexual harassment. And we do provide resources such as access to information about helplines or service providers to our users who might have experienced sexual exploitations. And users can also report if they believe they've experienced an intimate privacy violation on our platform. Now, in enforcing these guidelines, we do apply a number of guiding community principles centered on balancing expression with harm prevention and embracing human dignity and ensuring our actions are fair. So these guide how we approach difficult enforcement decisions that our team face every day. Now, at TikTok, we do offer a number of tools and controls to help users, especially our female users, manage their experience. And these can be found in our safety center. So if you go to tiktok.com/safety, you can find various guides and resources around our approach to safety, privacy, and security on TikTok, including on issues that might disproportionately affect women, such as sexual abuse or eating disorders. And users can also find helpful information for parents, caregivers, and new users. Now, while we continue to invest in technologies and industry-leading safety teams, we also work to ensure that our community feels in control of their TikTok experience through various safety features and privacy settings. So, for example, through content controls, users can control who can view or interact with their videos. For parents and guardians, our family pairing features allow them to link their personal account with their teens' accounts, enabling them to manage a variety of content and privacy settings, such as screen time limits or who can see their teens' content. And here are a few other examples of our safety features that you might already be familiar with. We encourage our users to report content that might violate our community guidelines for our review and action. We also allow our users to keep any other users from interacting with them or their content if they prefer so. And we also let users control their comment environment through comment controls where user can restrict who can comment on their content, and comment filters where users can automatically block specific keywords in their comment box. We also do encourage our community to treat everyone with kindness and respect. Comment prompt now asks people to consider posting a comment that may be inappropriate or unkind. It also reminds users about our community guidelines and allows them to edit their comments before sharing. And we found that nearly 4 out of 10 comments are edited or not posted after the prompt appears. Now, apart from our in-app policies and controls, we've also, I don't know why it keeps moving. My apologies. Apart from our in-app policies and controls, we've also worked on a number of initiatives with external partners to continually to improve safety for all our users. For example, we work with organizations such as the Web Foundation, an international organization advocating for digital equality, to better understand the experiences that women have online and how to make them safer. As a result, we announced our commitment to address 2 priorities women have said are critical for their online safety, which are improved reporting systems and more control over their online experiences. And we developed and tested a number of product changes to our platform that address these priorities and help make TikTok an even safer place for women. We also partnered with UN Women and local NGO partners for the 16 Days of Activism Against Gender-Based Violence back in 2022, where we launched an in-app hub to start a conversation about gender-based violence and educate the TikTok community. It featured content from worldwide experts and our creators, and it gave our community the opportunity to hear from survivors of gender-based violence, to learn about consent and to better recognize harmful gender. We also encourage our community to share how they intend to stand up for women and girls through the hashtag End Violence Against Women. Now, at TikTok, we are proud and committed as fostering a safe and inclusive space for women around the world to inspire, connect, and support one another. We regularly hold campaigns to celebrate International Women's Day. And this year, we're celebrating the power of we and the impact of our global Women of TikTok community. In Indonesia, we localize it with Perempuan Bisa, or Women Can. Now, over the past year, women across the globe have continued to build connections and communities on the platform. Popular themes that continue to inspire the entire community would include number one, women empowerment. So popular hashtags include strong women or girl power, or women supporting women, continues to inspire and mobilize on TikTok. And then secondly would be celebrating and recognizing motherhood. There have been over 16 million posts in the past year mentioning, for example, Moms of TikTok or Mom Talk, where the community shows love and appreciation to motherhood while also recognizing the challenges of being a mom and supporting communities of mothers. And thirdly, it will be entrepreneurship and women-owned businesses. So storytelling and content around women entrepreneurs or women in business showcase our community's commitment to supporting women-owned businesses and the inspiring paths of entrepreneurship. Now, these are some examples of a few more campaigns and activations that we did to celebrate International Women's Day last year, especially in Southeast Asia. We celebrated impactful women creators on TikTok in Indonesia, which ranges from anything from fashion designer to a musician to sporting coach. And they shared how TikTok has enabled and empowered them as women to drive positive impact and meaningful change, both in app and beyond the app. Recently, we also did a very cool Women in Gaming campaign, the video of which you are seeing right now, to celebrate women gamers and support diversity in the industry. And the campaign achieved over 1 billion views on TikTok. And then in other regions, for example, in the Philippines, we invited strong and creative Filipino TikTok creators from different industries to share their stories of challenges and success, including a person with disability athlete, a gamer, a mother, a trans woman activist, and also a SEA Games gold medalist. And then in Thailand and Vietnam, we launched the campaign Women of TikTok that included, online challenge campaign to share women's achievement and out-app activities as well to honor and connect with our women creators. Now, these are some real examples of successful women creators on TikTok, just to give you an even closer look of, of how our women communities are thriving on TikTok. So the first one here, some of you might be familiar with. Ray very recently took home a record-smashing 6 awards at the Brits, and she broke through with her mega hit, I think it's called Escapism, which initially found success on TikTok after the community created multiple, remixes that collectively amassed millions of video creations. And then the second one here is Erika Ricardo. She's a local Indonesia creator, a captivating art creator, and her talents took her to international stages such as TikTok Fashion Week in New York, where her designs were transformed into a beautiful dress. And she also represented us at the Busan Creator World Festival. The third one here, Octaviana Tasgrosir, or in English, it's Wholesale Bags by Octaviana. Is an emerging fashion powerhouse. She uses a range of TikTok's tools to engage with her more than 3 million followers. And she had an extremely efficient advertising approach, whereby for every dollar spent on advertising, she earns 28 times the amount invested. it allows her to actually support her community by opening up jobs and creating reseller programs for female entrepreneurs and expanding her business network with new warehouses. And then here we also have a food content creator based in London, I believe. Her name is Zubda, who believes that she can motivate others to get creative in their own kitchen, while at the same time build a supportive and interactive community with people who share passion for food. So now we recently work with research agencies to issue reports on TikTok's socioeconomic impact in different parts of the world. So in the UK, we saw that TikTok is helping to break down barriers to opportunity and pave the way for new, younger, and more ethnically and regionally diverse businesses and business leaders, many of whom are women. And this is an example of UK women creators who built a successful career out of TikTok. So these are two sisters, Tabby and Chloe, as known as sugar-coated sisters, who come from creative performing backgrounds. They regularly upload musical comedy content on TikTok that spans a range of topics from feminisms to mental health to UK politics and culture. And their success on TikTok actually translated to live in-person shows, whereby they managed to sell out shows in Edinburgh and London last year. And in addition to their career, they feel TikTok gives them the autonomy over what they do for work as women and enjoy interacting with a strong TikTok community. So my last slide here, we also looked at how the platform has impacted our communities, especially women closer to home here in Southeast Asia. I'm just gonna highlight one here, which is Phi from Thailand. So she is a very special makeup artist. Instead of using her hands to glam herself up, she uses only her feet to achieve the final look. She was born without arms, and with a passion for makeup, her extraordinary story has been featured in numerous media platforms. And with a solid fan base built on TikTok, she was able to launch her own cosmetic brand, Kunfai Cosmetics. So I think that's all I can share today. In conclusion, I think I can share that we are very humbled to see the ways that TikTok has made an impact on people's life, including women, and from enabling their livelihoods to strengthening communities of support. And we are very grateful that TikTok today is much more than an entertainment platform. It's a popular destination to discover and empower women-led creativity and advocacy. Again, we are grateful that we have helped unlock boundless opportunities for women of all walks of life and made it possible for women creators to grow and make a real-world impact. And we definitely look forward to continuing on our journey toward building a safe and entertaining space for more people around the world. So that's all. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Sheila. Thank you. Right. Well, while we're still waiting for our second speaker to join, why don't we move the question and answer round for Sheila a little bit forward, if you don't mind. So I can see already 2 questions in the chat. If you're ready, one of the most serious issues faced by digital platforms today is human trafficking and exploitation, which is unfortunately tend to affect women mostly. What do you suggest, or is your approach on what's your approach and how do you work to tackle this issue?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for the question. So I think we're aware that criminal networks have sought to misuse online platforms to promote human smuggling or trafficking, which is very unfortunate, and to take advantage of vulnerable people trying to escape conflict and poverty. It's clear that at TikTok we do have a zero tolerance approach to human smuggling and trafficking. We have dedicated significant investment and resources specifically aimed at fighting this kind of content. We remove any content found to violate our community guidelines on human exploitation, and will permanently ban offending accounts. Now, additionally, this is something that I can perhaps share as a background, but I'm not an expert on this because this is something that our colleagues over in the UK actually have worked on. So they work closely with local law enforcement and industry partners to find and remove content of this nature, and to foster greater collaboration and knowledge sharing to combat organized immigration crime. And they also added safety features to alert our community to these risks. For example, so the feature was actually a search intervention on TikTok for people that search for terms associated with human smuggling or trafficking. So, for example, when someone searches for certain words or phrases, they will be directed to expert resources from our partner organization, which is a Stop the Traffic group, with information about the dangers of human smuggling and trafficking. So these resources will give our community the option to make a report or find safety tips and provide details of organizations that can help vulnerable people.
All right, thank you very much. And then our second question here, in TikTok's efforts to maintain platform safety for its users, especially for women, how do you work to respond to evolving risks and challenges in the digital space? So how do you ensure that your policies and processes are informed by the various perspective and insight from external and internal stakeholders, and including like industry experts and academia advisors?
Yeah. Yes, this is a great question. So TikTok actually work with a lot of industry experts, NGOs, and industry associations around the world to share, best practices, create programs, and exchange ideas on safety-related topics. So, for example, we do regularly work with experts in online security, wellness, digital literacy, and family safety to help provide advice and resources for our users. And very importantly, we do have what we call safety advisory councils and content advisory council, which bring together a group of independent online safety experts and thought leaders who can then help us develop forward-looking policies and programs that not only address the challenges of today, but also plan ahead for the next set of issues that our industry will face. So these councils represent a diverse array of backgrounds and perspectives, made up of experts in again various issues like youth safety, bullying, hate speech, etc. And they provide subject matter expertise and advice on TikTok's moderation policies and practices to help shape our regional and global guidelines. And they work collaboratively with us to, again, to inform and strengthen our policies and products and processes. And until today, we have established 8 regional safety advisory councils across the world. And of course, we aim to continue expanding our regional presence because actually we found that focusing on regions allows us to better understand local challenges and develop informed solutions that, consider unique local contexts and cultures.
Right, thank you very much for that. And I do have some follow-up questions, but then I'm conscious of time. Maybe I'll ask you later. The last question I can see here is that, well, Aussie was wondering if there's an agenda from TikTok on how to improve women being seen in particular ways to prevent the perception of women becoming negative online.
Yeah, I think so. As a platform, our role and main responsibility is to provide that safe space for our users, including and especially women in this context, to express themselves as they are, to learn and discover and to grow to any role they aspire to be. So we mentioned briefly earlier about the diversity of women communities on TikTok. We have, women in sports, women in STEM, women in business. And these are the types of communities that we're so grateful to see flourishing on TikTok. And we will continue to work to provide a supportive space for them to strengthen their role and impact both inside and outside of our app. And we definitely hope to continue to facilitate our women creators to share, to inspire, and to empower one another through TikTok.
All right, thank you very much for that. Unfortunately, our second speaker, Stephanie, is still on her way to join us. So in that case, we are going to move on to our third speaker, and then we'll have Stephanie later down the line. So Now we are going to hear from Fidelsi Fidels. Elsie is an alumnus of CCLS QMUL with a LLM in Computer and Communications Law, graduated in 2013. Currently, Elsie is a PhD student and researcher in ICT law at the University of Barcelona. By ICT, that means information communication and technology. Before Elsie's PhD studies at Barcelona began, Elsie was a lecturer in ICT law modules at UNPAD in Indonesia, focusing on areas such as cyber law, media law, telecommunications law, case study on law and technology, and e-commerce law. Elsie was involved in some organizations in the ICT area, locally and globally. These organizations include Mastel, ICLC, ISOC, and ICT and IP Law Student Association at the Faculty of Law in UNPAD. He is also the lead country QMUL alumni ambassador in Indonesia between 2014 and 2022. Currently, Elsie is the co-chair of CCLS QMUL Indonesia chapter. All right, over to you, Elsie.
Okay, wait, I need to text Brenna first. Can you see my screen first?
Yep.
Okay, so thank you very much. It's faster than I expected. But I will save some my topics that I will present here because it's already been discussed or presented by other three speakers and later also by Stephanie after me. So in general, this is the agenda, but I will not tackle all of this, yeah, but just some of it where I think it's very much maybe focus more on male, yeah, because when we are talking about how the perception on women in society will be better or women will be treated better, it is very much rely heavily on how men behave towards women. So let's continue with start first with the background. I think within this topic, we know that the background because of the role of the media, yeah, whether they use the internet or the traditional one, and now also by the emergence of the artificial intelligence, also which also boosts for more contents, yeah. But this also means that like many things that happen in the world, it has two sides. It's like a coin. There are good sides and there are bad sides. Yeah. So in the good sides, of course, it's already, I think women from all over the world already experience where they can get the representation, yeah, visibility on how they can become, yeah, and then empowerment and role models where people might feel find the idea, maybe they don't find in the area where they live on how women can be, yeah, or maybe they have the idea they want to be someone, but nobody have done that in their area, but thanks to the media, yeah, whether the traditional one, like internet one, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you. I think you're not sharing the right screen because we can't see slides. We are seeing your folder.
Oh, okay. Okay, wait. So, yeah, thank you for there is. Wait. Right. Can you see my screen now?
Yep, that's
Okay.
the slide. Yep, please go ahead.
Okay, so all of the time I haven't shared my screen. Yeah, so the positive influence, of course, beside the idea and then the educational content, yeah, where people, whether for men or women, they get more educated about knowing the issue that women have, for example, about the rights and their achievement, and then the diversity, yeah, So not only gender, but also race, culture, and so on and so forth. Yeah, social economic backgrounds. It is definitely media has the positive influence in this case, and led also with the dialogue and advocacy and so on and so forth. Yeah, where I think it's still ongoing progress. Yeah, like combating gender-based violence, workplace discrimination, yeah, and of course exploitation that already asked and discussed and yeah, well. But of course, there are negative influence as well. I think one of the issue that is very worrying me when it's coming to women is about the objectification. Yeah, that the media often produce product that maybe it's good for entertainment, yeah, for some people, but when it's implemented in the reality, might become crimes, yeah, or it might lead to more damaging than others. Like some people might lead to mental healthy sickness, yeah, or even people might die, yeah, because from the mental healthy died, or even from virtual activity, for example, might lead to the communication and then meet in the physical reality, where I think this should be discussed after me, yeah, by Stephanie. And of course, because of there is objectification, it also lead to unrealistic beauty standards. Because as we know in the media, the typical woman that maybe we will see on the screen is in that kind of particular maybe. It can be different maybe in different country, in different continent, yeah. Like Indonesia, probably there are some I don't know, kind of people like want to be pale, yeah. So this is might be some people, some my fellow Indonesian maybe argue about this, that this kind of unrealistic beauty standards, because most of us actually are born with the not very dark, but not pale either. Maybe some of us, maybe if we have a mix, yeah, with Caucasian or with our parents, our maybe ancestor, or maybe even with people from the East of Asia, from Japan, China, Korea, they might have more pale. But if we are Malayan, yeah, Indonesian local ethnicity, our skin is brown. Yeah, so this kind of problem as well. People are trying to get white skin when they're originally not. And sexuality and violence, yeah, this one also negative influence, yeah, in general, yeah, whether the traditional one, whether the online one, yeah, this definitely is make people, especially women, be prone to be the victim, yeah, because again, it starts with the fantasy, people see it from what they see, and then later maybe just the entertainment, but then it's become reality. And this is might be because of lack of the factors, for example, like lack of media literacy, or critical thinking, digital literacy. Yeah, I will skip because this is already been done by the second speaker, by Joanna. But I think one thing that we need to know, that AI as a tool, as the currently now, yeah, is will make it better or worse for sure. Yeah, so it will make the perception about women better, much better, or it will make the perception about women is worse. Without doubt, one of the example is about the deepfakes. Yeah, it's very much in majority towards women. Yeah, and this is not good. Yeah, for the reputation of women itself, especially themselves, especially if people who receive this deepfake, they are still lack of the knowing the digital literacy, media literacy, critical thinking, knowing that deepfakes actually exist. Some people still see because what they see, it is real. Maybe what they write, when people what they read, they will see that okay, this is maybe just fake news. I think people already start to be more realized, yeah. But the deepfakes, I think for some people, yeah, maybe not in Europe, but maybe, or in US, but maybe in Asia and in others, yeah, people might not realize yet that deepfake is actually exists. So this is the problem when people are still naive that deepfake is not exist. Then the damage will be to the woman that they think it's the real one. Yeah. So this is the problem. I think this already been tackled about the exploitation of and privacy concern. Yeah, I think for many women that I interact with, whether they are from Indonesia or not, I usually say to them that women needs to know that if they are attractive, the more they are attractive, the more they are actually vulnerable, whether online or whether in the physical world. So please be sure that anything about their personal identity that they upload online is to be protected and not just share it without being mature or wise, because in the end it is the woman who will suffer with the damage. And that's from the woman side. From the male side, I think men also need to behave and need to develop themselves. I think we have seen how much the women have developed themselves in these past few centuries, but I think men also need to develop themselves to be much better as a person, in particular about being masculine. Healthy masculinity, I think one of the something that I propose that how man needs to be in opposed to the toxic masculinity. Yeah. Unfortunately, this toxic masculinity and so on is also powered by one of the elements, in particular pornography. And with online now, it's getting worse, I believe, because most of the people who access pornography usually it's men. Yeah, of course, women there are some too, but the majority is still men until now in many countries around the world. Yeah, this is one of the diagram 2022 data is from one of the biggest pornography platform. Yeah, Indonesia here you cannot find it. Yeah, on the left because it's heavily being censored in Indonesia. This platform pornography. But if we look at the right one, yeah, Indonesia is the second largest in terms of this data is about the trend of increasing accessing porn. Well, we are actually already doing the censorship in pornography. So it is clearly demonstrated that actually to tell people, to forbid people not to access, it doesn't mean people will not try to access, right? So it needs to be more self-awareness. And this is, I'm talking maybe from the culture where it's more conservative, where there is morality that we need to protect, that but the problem maybe it's more about that people need to know whether they are from conservative or they are from liberal one, the ideology that what you see from the pornography, it's often, and I think all of them, you should think it as entertainment, not sex education, because this is the problem. We can see that the 28.5 billion total visit per year in one platform of pornography. This is based on the 2017. Yeah, so it's about 7 years ago than now. So you can imagine if the trend is increasing in every countries, because as the connectivity is getting better in many countries around the world. Yeah, so this is a big problem. And what left to this is the objectification and commodification, because pornography is often offering fantasy, and often the fantasy is a bit sick here from the, especially if we are promoting gender equality and how to treat women with respect. Yeah, and because it's normalized the violation and coercion. Yeah. So this is definitely things that needs to be solved, yeah, soon rather than later in every country, yeah, whether they are so conservative, whether they are the one who allow pornography to be exist, or they are the one who do the censorship, they are forbid in any ways, yeah. And of course, to do this, we need media literacy, we need sex education from the beginning, we need the critical thinking, we need the digital literacy, media literacy, critical thinking, and then and this one should start from the family, not just from the school. I think even from the school, maybe literacy, media literacy, and digital literacy, I think it's a must thing for the alpha beta generation nowadays. I think this is a must skill. Besides the technical skill, people should also the maturity on how to digest the information, on how to produce the information, including when they do posting or when they read something in social media and so on and so forth. So yeah, how to counter, yeah, beside from the family, beside this kind of critical mindset, yeah, like critical thinking, digital literacy, media literacy. Of course, there are need for a forum that empower women voice, yeah. Then engagement with technology platforms, like maybe including TikTok and so on, so need to be more collaborate with many civil society, with the government, with different sector, especially that has influence, direct influence or impact towards how women will be treated, yeah, in online or in physical world, because online and physical now is getting more connect. Anything that start from online can lead to what happened in reality. So of course, law and policy needs always to prepare and serve the civil human civilization, including according to the culture in the country. But of course, it is easier said than done to do this. Yeah. And I think also one of the problem with this, how the perception about women is not getting better, is also there is a clash or conflict between feminism, yeah, then how men respond to feminism. Feminism is a movement that women have done it, yeah, to against how men treated women unfairly in the past, yeah. But then there are many type of feminism too. Then one of them is extreme feminism, that actually really just basically they don't need men, yeah. Or there are problem as well with men, how they respond with the development that women has achieved in this past few centuries, including nowadays, where we can see the misogynist online content, yeah, is spreading and people get famous of this. Yeah,
you have 1 minute left.
Okay. So this kind of thing, like misogyny is part of toxic masculinity. Yeah, how they treat the woman, how they think they see woman is an object. Yeah, and they see how women stereotype women, that women can do this and those and this thing, minimalize the potential of woman, is something that needs to be solved. And this cannot be done by law and policy without that solely, but this is also should be handled from the core, yeah, from the family, from education. There are no silver bullet, especially the one that can be considered quick fix for this, yeah. So I think I need to make a summary. Yeah, wait. Yeah, misogyny, maybe for those who have not, who don't know, but what is misogyny? Misogyny is the hatred or contempt for women, yeah. Is deeply rooted in patriarchal system and societal attitudes that prioritize men's power and control over women. This is definitely the problem that women and men also have in order to make the concept of gender equality to be applied in significantly. Definitely misogyny need to be reduced. The problem now, actually, the spread of this content is increasing. So to sum up, men need to speak up, yeah, when women are being treated or talked about in ways that don't feel right or respect. It might make us men feel uncomfortable among our male colleague, friends, and so on. But just remember that in every woman that we see, we should see them like they are our mother or they are our sister. Yeah. So if we think women should be treated how we treat our mother and our sister, we will think 1,000 times before we want to treat them without respect.
All right.
And I think
I have to stop you there. We are really running out of time, but I really appreciate that. And thank you for thinking of us.
Okay.
All right. Let's just quickly move on to, last but not least, our third speaker for today's session, Stephanie Bernadiva. Stephanie is a Chief Inspector Police at the Indonesian National Police with a Master of Information Security and Digital Forensics from the University of Auckland. She's highly trained in cybercrime investigation, experienced in investigating 15 types of cybercrimes, and had been working in the Indonesian National Police since 2014, investigating also many other kinds of crimes besides cybercrime. Her current position in the police is the head of unit in the Directorate of Special Crimes, coordinating and supervising the criminal investigation process. In addition, she holds a bachelor's degree in she holds a Bachelor of Education and a Bachelor of Science. Currently, she's a postgraduate student in a Master of Criminal Law program in Indonesia. So let's welcome Stephanie. And after you have spoken, then I will run a very quick Q&A round with you and Elsie. So the floor is yours, Stephanie.
Thank you, Tia. So let me share screen first.
You're on mute.
Okay, wait up. Let me which one is it? This screen. Sorry about this. And you guys seen it? So I'll be quick.
Fine. Yeah, we can see it. Please go ahead.
So yeah, so actually today I will present my presentation about combating cybercrime violence against women and children to create savior. Oh my God, how to say this? Wait up, hold on. Here we go.
Stephanie, if
Okay.
you need
Okay,
help,
can you? Yes.
I can do
Yeah,
the
can you help me?
presentation.
Yes,
Yeah.
wait up. Let me stop it then.
Yeah.
Please take care from this. Thank you, Tia.
All right, let me know
So,
if you guys can see it. Oh, hang on. No, sorry. Here we are. Does it work, guys?
thank you.
Yep. Okay. Just give me a shout when you want to turn the page.
Oh, okay then.
Yeah,
Here you
excellent.
go. Oh. Okay. Next slide, please, Tia. So
Oh,
actually,
yes.
I will run it fast. So maybe Elsie already told you some of my presentation. So like you guys know that right now we are in Society 5.0 and our challenge is like because we are right now in VUCA condition and society. So like there's a lot of, I cannot see anything, things that we have to consider. For example, like everything right now is centered on technology. So like we cannot like you know, not using our phone every day. And next, please, Tia. I will run out to, like I was maybe already told you guys. So Indonesia, we are like more than 1,200 local languages and over 300 ethnic group, and there's several religions in our country and also a lot of tribes too. So next. So because of that, there's many challenges that we face right now when we want to combating some of criminal cases. And like you see here, so our age structure and sex ratio in 2014. So I just snapped this today. So like you see, that's our young generation, that's a lot than our older generation. So like they're more into the internet right now. So next. And this is like a deeper deeper information about that. So like more currently, like the generation millennial and Gen Z is the largest generation group in Indonesia, and like 1/3 of population in Indonesia. Next. And this information about the criminality score. So we are the second highest criminal score in Southeast Asia countries. So like we kind of need to move from this rank, because that's kind of, you know, like that's terrible though, because we are second one, like largest criminal number in Southeast Asia. So next we have, so this one is, you know, like inside we have like 16 types of cybercrime. So our like the highest reported type of cybercrime is fraud. Next. And this is Indonesian cybercrime criminal law. So like actually for cybercrime criminal law, we using the newest one. So the second amendment of Electronic Information and Transaction, so Law of Republic of Indonesia #1 of 2024. And also, you know, like it will be surprised because like in Southeast Asia, Indonesia is more, you know, like we are more adequate about the law regarding the sexual violence criminal, because back in 2022, we already have the law regarding the sexual violence criminal that cover also the online online sexual violence criminal. Next. And you know, like the most cases, maybe in the previous slide, you already know that the second best of our type of crime is the torsion. So like the pornography. So because of like back in 2020, and you know, during the pandemic, there's a lot of people that stay at home and they using their phone a lot, and most of them like they kind of like really into the social media, and you know the number of the crime is getting higher every day. Next. And you already know about this. So cyber sexual harassment is about the inappropriate comment, and also like they kind of post the videos or photo that cause someone to feel uncomfortable, verbal or non-physical harassment, and also doxing. There's a lot of doxing in Indonesia. So like they kind of like you know, expose the, you know, the secret, the information about someone on public through the social media. That's one of thing that I think the younger generation, they should know that there's also the act of crime. Next. And the catfishing, maybe everyone already know about this. And this is about someone pretending to be someone else online and like making a romantic relation with others through the internet. And next. This one is the real case. So actually, during the pandemic, there's several cases and different type also. The high-tech crime is a lot here. So, you know, like when we are still doing, you know, there's a lot of vaccinate kind of cases, and there's our government website that been hijacked by someone irreversible. So like the malware case, we have a joint investigation with the Asian Cyber Capital Task Program with the ASEANAPOL. So, you know, like the suspect is Indonesian and also foreigner. Next. This one, most of the criminal, they conduct their crime inside the jail. So like it's kind of shock because they are a narcotic case prisoner. They conduct another case inside the jail in 2020. Next. And I have my next one. So actually this is the recent one. Maybe you already know that there's a lot of account taken by someone, and they cannot torsion people so they can return back the account. And next one, what happened? Yeah.
I think I might have did one extra click. Is this the page that
It's
you
okay.
want?
No worries. Next one. It's okay. So like you already know that they're like most of the time of younger generation right now, they online, and there's a lot of criminal there, malicious person also there. So like unfortunately in Indonesia, there's so many parents that they don't really care about and like giving an access restriction and supervise their children about using the gadget and electronic devices. That's why like a lot of perpetrator, they kind of use that condition and luring some of them to like creating and also they are like exploit sexually, something like that. Next. This one is there's kind of big personal data leaks cases in 2023 around Asia. Like this one, there's a Malaysian one, and also there's also Indonesia too. There's so many people that want to sell our personal data and using it, doing like, for example, they kind of use it for mafia kind of cases. So they want to use that to money laundering the the money. Next one, please. Yeah. Next one. Yeah. So this is like in Indonesia this week there's a conference. So we kind of have a small conference with the FBI, the IFP, and also another police organization around the world. So I already talk about this because like in early this year there's several concert and Taylor Swift cases, right? So like someone make a deepfake material about her. So that's why. So I already talk about this kind of threat about the cybercrime in the future. And one of the police from Thailand, they say that we still consider to use the new kind of gadget about digital forensic stuff, but it's still difficult to find who the one that behind the material. So we still can detect, is it the defect material or videos, but we really it's really hard to ask for getting the information like IPs, who the one that shared that videos, something like that. So we still consider to find another solution to tackle this kind of threat. Next one, please. And that's it. So like this regular one, actually I put extra information, but that's on my slide. So for the UK peoples, they can I already talked to the NPA police attaché here. So they say that there's a what is it, like there's a website and also number. If someone in the UK they want to talk with the police, the main number phone number is the 999 for emergency. And also if you have been a victim or witness to the crime and remain in danger, you can call 999, and for 101 is non-emergency number for reporting matters where the danger has now passed or other sort of inquiries, and also online reporting tools and specialist reporting routes also there is in the UK. So you can Google it, the CEOP one. So you can find a lot of good materials there, how to protect yourself, how to strengthen, and also like you know, increase your awareness about the child exploitation material and also crime against women. Thank you, everyone. That's it for me. And one thing that I want to emphasize is before you share something, so you have to make sure that the information is truth and also it's not fake, because someone can report you to about that as a act of violence. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Stephanie. And I would like to also invite Sheila back to this discussion. I'm very conscious of time, so we'll probably just have one or two questions for each.
Yeah. Well, 1 second. So maybe there's a one slide that we skip it. So for the social media application, the highest one that been used in Indonesia is the Instagram, and the second one is the TikTok. But like the TikTok right now is getting there, so maybe around several months, TikTok will be the one here in Indonesia. Thank you, Tia.
Right. Thank you. So yeah, in all your presentations, there has been mentioning of deepfake, there's been mentioning of AI, and I kind of wonder, so things will usually be detected when harm is already done, right? When you're talking about cybercrime investigation or talking about hate speech or a deepfake video that's going online. So I want to ask all of you actually, when it comes to AI and law, what will be a more effective way of preventing this from happening? So it's one of my personal thought, might be a crazy idea. If AI can be generative and generate a fake video, will AI be utilized in terms of detecting these kind of material? Can AI pre-scan materials being posted online? So maybe Stephanie and Elsie, if you would like to go first.
Stephanie, you want to talk first or I want to talk first? You want me to
Me first, I think, because like you know, because of the forensic sound kind of evidence, that's kind of hard for us to use the AI one, because there's a certain tools that we use that, and also the court, they know that that's a good devices to like conducting the digital forensic kind of thing. So like it's kind of hard, I think, for the AI being substitute for that kind of tools. That's for my opinion, though. I'll see. Back to you.
I'm not technical, but I think the concept is we should not let machine to decide too much about us that might change our freedom of expression. But it's also a problem that actually artificial intelligence is the same like any other technology, can be used for and bad. Yeah. So I think what needs to be done here is how to improve the quality of human itself, the morality. So great technology comes with great morality. Yeah. So no matter how good the technology can be, if the one who use it are bad with bad morality, I think the impact is just, I think, even worse than barbaric era compared to the Stone Age. Yeah. So I think what needs to be done is how to improve the quality of morality. So how technology can make human more have morals. Yeah. So I think
Absolutely
that's the
agree.
conclusion
Yes.
from.
So technology is a sword, but then it depends on who is holding that sword, isn't it? And whether it will do good or harm. So on that note, Elsie, one question for you. Given the negative influence of pornography, you mentioned quite a lot, and also the role of male in terms of promoting women's right. How do the various stakeholders in society approach the spread of pornography in our society, regardless what ideology, what religious, what culture, what political system that they may follow? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, this is very complex, and probably people can write thesis for this. Yeah? But I
Well,
think
that's what you're doing, right?
yeah,
You
yeah.
are a PhD, so
but I'm not talking about pornography because it's just the problem is, I think the basic for men is we get attracted by what we see. I'm sorry, this is already adult, everybody, right? The woman here is already adult, right? A woman can be attracted with these kind of things based on what they feel, right? Maybe some people what they see, but majority of men usually we are attracted by what we see. That's why this is what makes pornography is so, I don't know, whatever their skin, their race, their ideology, maybe they can pretend they don't like, but we are like. The problem is, even if we like, even if we are religious, we are not allowed to see this. We just need to make sure that the harm is only for us, because for religious one, it's considered a sin. It's not different. It's not heavy sin like when you kill people, but you just need to stay there. You cannot. The problem nowadays, like what happened in Indonesia or happened in others, because when I involve with men, I'm masculine too here, right? Just because I am for International Women's Day doesn't mean I'm not masculine. Yeah, this is I need to put the conclusion. I often, when I have men talks with people from different part of the world, the logic is about the same. Men still think like how women dress is determine what they are going to do with the woman. So it's crazy when I see like I talk with people from this part, from Asia, from Europe, and they just. So I think the problem is from the stakeholder. First, I think is the education. That's I think from the early stage is the family, the education, the school. Yeah, like I say, media literacy, digital literacy, critical thinking. It's the parents' job in the school job. That's from the early stage. From the when it's already teenager, when I say the work environment, that's definitely we need to have some kind of training, and there is some kind of people that actually have the responsibility to supervise how this kind of treatment, how the gender equality works in behavior, whether men actually can see women, treat women on par the same like them with respect, like when they respect their mother or their sister, for example. And I think in bigger stage, yeah, in regional, yeah, we can do it in regional, or we can do it in global as well. But there are a problem with the context of a cultural here as well. But I think it can be done with regional context, maybe in Europe, and maybe, for example, in Asia. We have, for example, in my region, Southeast Asia, we definitely can make the harmonization of standard, maybe about the ethics, maybe about the law and policy, and then, but there are no quick fix for this. I think the easy one, it should start from the family. Because no matter how good the law and policy, if you cannot implement inconsistent, yeah, it's just like you're good as a piece of paper, but nothing more than that. And of course, the technology platforms, yeah, this is the key, yeah, needs to be involved and need to be supervised. Sorry, Sheila, you're from the TikTok, but you need to be supervised, sorry. Yeah, another you need to be supervised. You do your job or not when you supervise the content. There are no such thing like freedom without limited. Yeah, I'm sorry to say this. Maybe I'm from Indonesia because there is moderate conservative here. Yeah, but I think we see craziness when there is freedom without limit. Because the more freedom we have, we might take other people free. So this is the form. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very
Power
much.
side.
That's
Right,
hard to do, I'll see. You know, like because for sorry Tia to interrupt.
No,
So
go
like
ahead. Please go ahead.
so about the social media one, we discussed it, you know, like yesterday to another law enforcement agency. It's kind of hard to apply that because this, you know, they are platform, they are like a company, right? The financial kind of thing is their priority one. So like you say that there should be a limit, but if you know like the bosses, they say that, oh, go ahead because we need the customer and stuff. So that's really hard to do. That's my opinion. Thank you, Tim.
I don't know how that I will think about that. I'm not put at that position, but if I were, then do I have the guts to resign and say, no, I'm not doing that? Right, that is also on the individual level. But sorry for digressing, and I am very conscious of time. So yeah, to conclude, we talk about safety, online safety for women specifically from quite a few different perspectives. We got Sheila, that is from TikTok, and Aussie from academia, and Stephanie from the police, all sharing their views. So Sheila particularly talk about the safety, especially for women user on in the context of social media and how to promote their image using social media. And for OC, I particularly like your notes on the masculinity. What is that concept and how that can actually help promote women's position in the society. And Stephanie, thank you so much for the very well-informed all the statistics on the current situation in Indonesia and also your case studies on cybercrime against women. All right, so let me hand back to our dear host, Salome. Thank you all the speakers very much and audience. Back to you, Salome.
Sorry, just noticed that I had my, no, thanks Tia, and thanks everyone. This was a really, really good session. A lot of content and amazing food for thought. So now this concludes our today's event, and on behalf of the joint organizers between the CCLS and Queen Mary China and Indonesia chapters, I would like to thank you very, very much for attending and all the amazing contributions. I hope that you learned how valuable and crucial the impact of AI, internet, and media has on women and their role in these industries. As we heard at some point, great technology comes with responsibility and morality after all. Goodbye, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy and happy. Thank you very, very much. It was a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you very much. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you,
Bye.
every ladies.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thanks, Elsie,
Thank you,
for
every
organizing.
ladies.
This was amazing, amazing speakers, a privilege.
You are welcome. You are very welcome. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, ladies. Have a good night. Have a good day. Have a good